Welcome to Wisdom and Wealth, a channel dedicated to exploring timeless wisdom for a richer life. Today, we're diving into a fascinating piece of Buddhist philosophy that remains incredibly relevant even in our modern world, often plagued by information overload. We're talking about the Buddha's 14 forbidden questions, inquiries so profound that they continue to challenge scientists, philosophers, and everyday seekers like you and me. But before we embark on this journey, if you're new here, we encourage you to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. We're committed to bringing you insightful content that can help you navigate life's complexities with more clarity and peace of mind. Think of this channel as your companion for personal growth, offering valuable perspectives on everything from financial well-being to spiritual fulfillment. So, hit that subscribe button and join our growing community of wisdom seekers. Now, let's set the scene. Picture a student at 3 a.m., eyes burning from the glare of a screen. They're scrolling endlessly through another Reddit thread, another YouTube video, another fruitless search for answers to life's biggest questions. This isn't a new phenomenon. 2,500 years ago, some of the most brilliant minds gathered before the Buddha. They came with 14 questions about the universe, consciousness, death, and suffering, questions that even modern science continues to grapple with. They stood before the most enlightened being of their time and asked him to reveal the ultimate truth. And his response? Silence. Despite answering thousands of other questions in his lifetime, the Buddha refused to answer these 14. Why? What was so special about these particular inquiries that led him to remain silent? And, perhaps more importantly, what can we learn from his silence today? As we delve deeper, we'll uncover these questions and explore the reasons behind the Buddha's refusal to answer them. This exploration might just change the way you approach life's greatest mysteries. We'll examine how these ancient questions relate to modern science, philosophy, and, most importantly, your own personal journey. But remember, learning and growth are best shared, so if you find yourself resonating with the wisdom we're uncovering, don't forget to like this video and share it with your friends. Imagine the most advanced physics lab on Earth, deep beneath the Swiss Alps. Scientists at CERN are smashing particles at nearly the speed of light, spending billions of dollars to answer a single question: how did our universe begin? Above ground, telescopes peer billions of light-years into space, searching for the edge of everything. Quantum computers calculate the possibilities of parallel universes. 2,500 years ago, the greatest minds in ancient India pondered these same mysteries. They turned to the Buddha, confident that he could reveal the truth about existence itself. Is the universe eternal? They asked. Did it have a beginning, or has it always existed? The Buddha remained silent. Now, some might assume this was simply a form of avoidance. But in other teachings, the Buddha actively encouraged questioning, especially when it led to practical wisdom. He even encouraged his followers to question his own words. Yet, with these cosmic questions, he saw something different. Is it infinite? They pressed. Does space go on forever, or does it have an end? More silence. What's fascinating is that modern physics is finally catching up to something the Buddha seemed to understand 2,500 years ago. At the quantum level, time breaks down, and space becomes uncertain. The deeper scientists look, the stranger reality becomes. If you are curious about different ways of thinking that have the possibility of leading you to a deeper understanding of our world, or maybe even to a more peaceful life, don't forget to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. Take the Big Bang Theory, for example. Scientists can trace everything back 13.8 billion years, but if you ask them what came before that, they hit a wall of mystery. It's the same wall that those ancient questioners encountered sitting before the Buddha. Stephen Hawking, one of the greatest minds of our time, put it perfectly: even if we find the ultimate theory of everything, we still won't know why the universe exists at all. But here's where it gets personal. Right now, you might be wondering about your own place in this vast cosmos. Maybe you lie awake at night picturing infinite space or questioning whether we're all just part of some cosmic computer simulation. These aren't just abstract puzzles, they're questions that shake the foundation of how we see ourselves, how we live our lives, and how we face our biggest challenges. And the Buddha's silence, that mysterious response to these cosmic questions, holds a clue about something far more important than the size of the universe. If you knew right now whether the universe was eternal or finite, would it change how you spend your day? Would it solve your real challenges? Would it ease your actual suffering? Every second, the universe expands, galaxies spiral outward into endless darkness, and quantum particles pop in and out of existence, creating their own tiny universes of possibility. The ancient truth seekers wanted more than theories, they demanded certainty, just like we do today. A physicist recently made headlines claiming we might be living in a simulation, and Elon Musk says the odds are 1 billion to 1 that this is base reality. Millions watched his interview, hungry for answers. Look at your phone. How many tabs do you have open right now about life's mysteries? How many YouTube videos have you watched about quantum physics and consciousness? How many late-night conversations have you had about whether anything is real? We're not so different from those ancient seekers standing before the Buddha, demanding to know if space goes on forever, if time had a beginning, or if reality is truly real. But the Buddha saw something they didn't, something that modern science is only starting to understand. Quantum particles have been observed by scientists, and the results seem to suggest that it is impossible to know everything about one particle. It's as if the universe itself is telling us that some questions aren't meant to be answered, at least not in the way we think. Just like the Buddha's silence, the universe whispers, not all truths can be grasped, some must be lived. And now, if you're appreciating this thought-provoking exploration, please give us a thumbs up. This leads us to the next set of questions the Buddha refused to answer, questions that hit even closer to home, questions about the very nature of who and what we are. Consider the human brain, 3 pounds of tissue that somehow creates your entire world, every thought, every memory, every sensation. Right now, in labs at Harvard and Stanford, scientists are hooking people up to brain scanners, trying to find where consciousness lives, where you actually are. A neuroscientist can point to your brain and say, this part lights up when you feel love, or, this part activates with fear. But they still can't tell you what consciousness actually is. 2,500 years ago, the seekers asked the Buddha, are mind and body the same thing, or are they different? The Buddha's silence echoed through the monastery. Today, we're asking the same questions, but with a modern twist. When OpenAI's chatbot started writing poetry and discussing emotions, people wondered, could a computer become conscious? When we create artificial minds, are we creating artificial souls? Think about your earliest memory. Is that child in your mind really you? Every cell in your body has been replaced since then. Every thought has shifted, and even your personality has transformed. Yet, something feels continuous. One study suggested that consciousness might be fundamental to the universe, like gravity or space-time, and that our brains don't create consciousness, they receive it. However, what makes Buddha's silence fascinating is the next series of questions he refused to answer. Questions that take us even deeper into this mystery, questions about what happens to consciousness after death. Every culture, every civilization has tried to peek behind death's curtain. Right now, scientists are documenting cases of children with detailed memories of past lives, while researchers measure the weight of consciousness leaving the body. Hospitals report patients describing their own surgeries from above the operating table. However, 2,500 years ago, the questions went straight to the heart of it all. Does an enlightened being exist after death? They asked the Buddha, or do they cease to exist? Do they both exist and not exist? Or neither exist nor not exist? Each time, silence. Notice something, these weren't simple yes or no questions. They covered every logical possibility, and the questioners thought they had the Buddha cornered. For those who wish for inner peace or a greater understanding of life, be sure to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth and don't forget to like this video. But the Buddha saw a trap in these questions, the same trap we fall into today. Think about the last time you lost someone, the questions that haunted you, where are they now? Can they see me? Will I meet them again? Some seek answers in spirituality, others in technology. A scientist recently asked a dying patient to send a coded message from the other side, while tech billionaires spend fortunes trying to upload their minds to computers, hoping to cheat death itself. But the Buddha's silence points to something deeper. He asks a powerful question: if a fire goes out, does it go north, south, east, or west? The answer, the question itself, makes no sense. When a flame extinguishes, it hasn't gone anywhere, it's just stopped burning. Now, if you found any insight in these teachings from the Buddha, it's time to like and subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth to see more similar content. This brings us to the final set of questions, the ones that touch your life right now, questions about why we suffer and who's responsible. Look around you. Someone's getting bad news in a doctor's office, someone's relationship is ending, someone's dreams are shattering, and the questions start: why me? Whose fault is this? Could I have prevented it? The ancient seekers demanded answers from the Buddha. Is suffering self-created, created by others, both, or neither? Buddha's response was the same powerful silence. Consider your own life. When you lose a job, is it purely your fault? When a relationship ends, is it entirely the other person's doing? When anxiety strikes, who do we blame? Modern research reveals fascinating patterns. Studies show that chronic stress involves a complex interplay of genetics, environment, and personal choices. One paper in Nature Neuroscience recently mapped how childhood experiences, daily habits, and social connections all weave together in our experience of suffering. Yet, we keep searching for simple answers. A woman recently went viral sharing her cancer diagnosis on TikTok, and the comments flooded with people debating: was it genetics, diet, environmental toxins, or bad karma? They were desperate to blame someone or something to make sense of the pain. Modern psychology calls this the fundamental attribution error. When good things happen, we credit ourselves. When bad things happen, we blame others, the universe, or fate. Think about your own suffering right now. Maybe it's anxiety about the future, regret about the past, or fear of what's coming. Who do you blame? What if the question itself is the trap? What if the Buddha's silence isn't about avoiding the question but about revealing the deeper nature of suffering itself? It's not about finding someone to blame but about understanding the conditions that create suffering and learning to navigate them with wisdom and compassion. So, what do these questions mean for you? Let's make this practical. When you're stressed about the future, lying in bed wondering if everything will work out, the Buddha's silence offers a different path. Instead of endless questioning, focus on what you can do right now. When relationships keep you awake, your mind spinning with what-ifs and forever questions, the ancient wisdom whispers, be present today. And when big decisions loom, when you're paralyzed searching for the perfect choice, remember the Buddha's silence wasn't about avoiding answers, it was about redirecting our energy to questions that actually serve us. The reason why all of Buddha's insights are helpful and valuable for older people, especially those in their 40s, is because these lifelong lessons can help find the true meaning of life and to make wise decisions. If you are seeking these qualities in your life, subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth. And now, to complete this full circle, here is why everything connects. Remember those questions about the universe, about consciousness, about death? They all share something with suffering, and they're all questions that trap us like quicksand. The more we struggle for answers, the deeper we sink. And now, we're ready for the Buddha's masterstroke, the real reason behind his silence, a truth so powerful that it can transform how you face every challenge in your life. Picture a man struck by a poisoned arrow, blood flowing and life draining away. A doctor rushes to help, but the man stops them. "Wait," he says. "Before you remove this arrow, I need to know who shot it, what their name is, what village they're from, and what kind of bow they used." The Buddha's voice rises with urgency. The man would die before getting these answers. And there it is, the reason for his silence. All those cosmic questions and all those philosophical debates, they're like demanding to know the archer's height while the poison seeps deeper. Look at your own life right now. What arrows pierce your heart? Stress about the future? Anxiety about relationships? Fear of failure? But instead of removing these arrows, what questions do you chase? The Buddha wasn't rejecting curiosity, he was revealing something deeper. Why do we ask these questions in the first place? Are we searching for truth, or just trying to escape uncertainty? These questions, like the poisoned arrow, keep us trapped, not because they're wrong to ask, but because they make us forget the real work, freeing ourselves from suffering, right here, right now. Modern research validates this ancient wisdom. People spend almost 47% of their time thinking about something other than what they're doing, and the more they do this, the less happy they are. The most successful people, the happiest people, are often the ones who've learned to be comfortable with uncertainty. Think about water. When you're really thirsty, you don't need to know its molecular structure, its source, or its journey, you just need to drink. This is the Buddha's silence in action, not rejecting questions, but pointing to something more important, freedom. This isn't just ancient philosophy echoing through time, it's a living practice for your daily life. When your mind spins with questions about the universe, consciousness, or your own path, notice the nature of your questions, feel their weight, and ask yourself if an answer would change your next breath, your next step, or your next moment. The Buddha's silence wasn't the absence of wisdom, it was wisdom itself speaking in a language more profound than words, teaching us to dance with uncertainty rather than fight it. Modern life bombards us with answers, Google at our fingertips and social media gurus claiming certainty and self-help books promising all the solutions. But what if we're missing something profound, something the Buddha saw 2,500 years ago? Those 14 questions, they're not just ancient history, they live in every lab trying to crack the code of consciousness, every telescope searching for the edge of space, and every person lying awake at night wondering about death. One quantum physicist recently said something fascinating: the more we understand about the universe, the more mysterious it becomes. The Buddha knew this. His silence wasn't ignorance, it was insight. Think about a child looking at the stars. They don't need theories about nuclear fusion to feel wonder, and they don't need equations to experience awe. Right now, in your life, what would change if you stopped demanding answers? If, instead of forcing life to make sense, you let it unfold? For more life-altering lessons, please subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth and be sure to like this video. The latest neuroscience shows something remarkable: when we let go of needing absolute answers, our brains become more creative, more resilient, and more alive. Those ancient seekers eventually understood that freedom isn't found in answering every question, it's found in knowing which questions serve us and which ones trap us. This mystery, this not knowing, it's not our enemy, it might be our greatest teacher. Look at your phone one more time. Those late-night questions that keep you scrolling, they're not your enemy, and they're not distractions, they're invitations to live more deeply and more authentically. Tomorrow morning when you wake up, try something different. Instead of reaching for answers, reach for awareness. Notice how it feels to let life be mysterious and to let questions be your companions rather than your tormentors. If this perspective shifted something for you today, share your story in the comments. What questions have you been wrestling with, and how might embracing uncertainty change your approach? Remember that wisdom isn't about finding all the answers, it's about learning to live with the questions, because the moment you stop running from uncertainty and the moment you allow the mystery to simply be, that's when real freedom begins. Be sure to subscribe to Wisdom and Wealth for more, and don't forget to like this video.